Why free-to-play players to be most efficient should be skipping 2 times and 10 times event in Raid Shadow Legends. Let's get right into it. What up team, it's your boy MurderInc here, back again with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Shout out to Chef Jitsu that I'm doing a takeover for so I can use his account to really properly show this, much better than on my account. Why? Okay, I'm going to say this in my opinion, although it's going to be really hard to argue with this. Of course, opinions aren't facts, I do get that, but this is why I'm going to say this. I'm going to break it all down for you so it's clearly understood why I'm approaching it this way. I know people say, Murder, you have tons of gems all the time. Even this account has a lot of gems. Energy, you never have to worry about this stuff. That does not mean that I don't understand efficiently. Whales are the most efficient players in the game with all the spreadsheets. I know free-to-play players have tons of spreadsheets, but they're equal, if not slightly worse than whales who have spreadsheets, because there's so much more information and so much more going on for an account who does spend on this game as far as maximizing efficiency everywhere they can with what they've spent on. So this is a huge misconception that a lot of free-to-play players have, where whales are just randomly spending money. They don't care about anything. They're pulling whenever they feel like it. Some people do that, a lot of people do that, but the most efficient players in the game have always been whales because they want to get the most out of the money they're spending, as opposed to someone who's not spending at all. You can make efficient ways to play this game for free, but when your own money's in the line, you're going to spend a lot more work and a lot more research to get all of the information out there so you know exactly what you're doing. So with that being said, why am I saying don't ever pull on 10 times events and don't ever pull on 2 times events? This is why. I'm sure you guys have noticed this, I've definitely noticed this, there is a significant increase in the amount of guaranteed champions that's being pushed out by Plarium. Those are the best events to go for if you're free to play. Champions like Kimi, I brought this up before and someone said Kimi's an endgame champion. That person, free to play, they said they were free to play, so I'm not just assuming here, they're out of their mind. Kimi is such a strong champion. The chance of putting block buffs on everyone, increase accuracy, increase speed. You guys maybe know her kit, or probably should. Decrease accuracy, decrease speed. With all of this, having an incredible passive and aura for the Doom Tower, which is huge for progression, and having 115 base speed. So incredible champion, and it would be really hard for a free-to-play player to have had the 150 ancients if they were spending on every single fusion, on every single 2 times event, and on every single 10 times event. Now, if you noticed, I said fusion. When I first came up with this idea and I said it in a video, people said, oh, he's going to say use it on every fusion. That makes sense. I agree and disagree with that. I don't think if you're free to play, you should be going for every single fusion, because some of them are going to sit in the vault and you cannot afford to have that happen if you're a free to play player. If you're free to play and you're watching this, you know this as well as I do. Every champion you get, you need to make sure you're getting use out of. Outside of that, it's pretty much, it literally is wasted resources. Maybe epics could have been better. Maybe slight chance rares could have been better for certain faction wars or niche situations in the Doom Tower secret rooms, but most of the time you have to make sure that whatever you're going for fusion wise, it makes sense for your account. You could have gotten lucky, you could have pulled a bad L on your free to play account, Trunda, Hegemon, it doesn't matter. Being free to play doesn't mean you pull bad champions. It means you don't spend a lot, you have less resources than most people who do spend. Everyone who does spend, but these are the way things are going. So the fact that guaranteed events are so strong, fusions can be so strong if you really look into what the champion does, which is why I try to, every time a fusion comes out, test it, show you guys what the max potential is. So if you do want to build this champion and you are free to play, you know what you're getting yourself into. Instead of just saying this champion's great, his kit does X, X, and X, sometimes it's really hard to apply to your account unless you really break it down where their strong suits are and where their weak points are. So you can say, okay, well, I have these champions already. Seal of Drakes, Ninja, most free-to-play players will have them. They've been playing for a while. Visix, if they have reach that certain threshold, arbiter if they're at those missions. So you have to take into account all the champions you have and then consider that against what you are possibly going for in a fusion. Herndig was a great fusion, great nuker. If you didn't have a solid nuker on your team, Ninja isn't the best nuker, but he's an awesome boss slaying champion. So I wouldn't say, oh, I have Ninja, so I wouldn't have needed Herndig. But these are examples. Countess Lyx was also a guaranteed champion. Incredible. Cannot stress this enough. Incredible for the Hydra boss. This ability here decreasing the cooldowns of all allies skills, except this champion's by 1 turn. Yes, it's on a 5-turn cooldown, has to be booked. It's 5, 6, 7 turn cooldown if not booked. Still, every time this champion gets a chance to use this, it's incredible. If you use reflex gear, even better. Relentless gear can be strong as well. Decreased speed and AoE triple hit here. This one would only matter if you have Astralon and then a weaken on the A1, so I use her a lot with my Royal Guard and Husk. You can definitely do the same and get a lot of value out of this champion, on top of filling the champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally receives a debuff, making these cooldowns, while they may seem long, be a lot shorter in reality. So that's going to be my reasoning on why you should be skipping 2 times in 10x events. Now, I've seen a counterpoint here. Murder, why would I save 150 shards for a Countess Lyx? Or I said Countess Lyx, we were just talking about her. Why would I save 150 shards for a guaranteed Lady Kimi? When for one, I don't know what the guaranteed champion is until they come out. Very good point. Not going to argue with that, very good point. Some of them could be bad. I don't know the whole history of all the guaranteed champions. There are epics they have. I don't think they ever did rares, but they have done epics before. Most of the time the epics are pretty damn good, but every account's different. Not every epic is going to be good for that account. So you have a champion like Lady Kimi come out, and to be free to play, to say, well, I pulled my 100 and let's just say 200 shards for a 2 times event and I got 2 legendaries. It's random what legendaries you could have gotten. So you can say, well, what if I pull 3 legendaries in a 2 times event with 150 shards? That's great. How are you going to get the legendary books to book them? What if they're dependent on legendary books? If you're free to play, you know for a fact legendary books are almost non-existent in this game until you're at an endgame level farming Ultra Nightmare. Some people are doing it, some people are not. Even still, it's hard to get legendary books. So with that being said, what use is 3 legendaries to you? Realistically, they're random, you can't pick them, they could be dupes, they can be bad for your specific account, or they can be bad overall legendaries, as opposed to a guaranteed event where you can scope out the legendary, see if it's going to add benefit to you. It's pretty much like a fusion without having to spend any resources, assuming you've been saving up your shards. Now, this is why I say don't go for every single fusion, because if you're doing every single fusion, it's going to be hard to also do guaranteed events unless you're just constantly saving and skipping some fusions that don't make sense for you. I think there's this very bad mentality among players to always go for fusions. You never know if they're going to get buffed. You never know if they're going to get nerfed, which people tend to not think about. But I think it's a big point here, and why I stressed earlier that you really need to research the fusion before you fuse them, regardless of the type of player you are. Free to play, whale, doesn't matter. People have said if you're a whale, you should go for every single fusion no matter what. I do get that to a certain extent. If you're a whale and you don't have your faction guardians filled and you're constantly pulling shards, yes, you should go for fusions. If your faction guardians are full, I don't think it's in your best interest, unless you just want to spend money, to go for every single fusion. For example, I'm pretty sure I skipped Vlad. I might have gotten Vlad. I don't really remember on my account. I know I skipped Verself. I did end up pulling him anyways after that, but these champions I'm never going to use. I know a lot of people who have fused them who are never using them. They're in their vault and they're only going to be leveled up for clan versus clan, which is the worst thing to hear. We all know how I feel about clan versus clan, how everyone feels about clan versus clan. The fact that you're saving these fusion champions for extra points to hit clan minimums or whatever you want to do is terrible, terrible game design, but we can't change that, so it is what it is. I know Genzin, listen, Genzin, people think he's really bad. I use him in Hydra. He's killing it in Hydra with Inquisitor Shamael. Faction wars for the Shadowkin are going to open up. He's an AoE defense down, incredible turn meter gain on a crit. His cooldown is 4. Books, like I said, books are always going to be a problem. He isn't heavily reliant on books. 75% chance isn't terrible. 80% chance if you take the mastery. Sniper. So still fine odds. Faction wars don't cost anything to run them over and over again. You can just wait for good RNG and you will eventually get 100% chance to put that defense down if you retry enough times. So this is my main point here, and I really want people to think about this from all aspects of spending in this game. You have to be careful. The bait is huge for 10x and 2x events. You may think the rates are really small as it is. We all know that. Just really quickly, in case for some reason you don't know, which I think if there's one thing the entire player base knows, it's what the rates are for pulling champions. So default summoning chance, sacred shard, 6% chance of pulling a sacred shard. So strictly going off of this, 100 sacred shards, 6 of them would be, I mean, I know this isn't realistic, but just bear with me for now. Let me use this example, please. Okay, 6% chance goes up to 12. Yes, those are good odds, but think about Rector Drath for 4 sacred shards that you can accumulate over time. Would take a while. Rector Drath is very good and can be very good for a lot of free-to-play accounts. So if you had those 4, it would make much more sense to save it to get that guaranteed good epic champion than to waste it on a 2x event for sacred shards. I mean, what are you going to do with a 12% chance and 4 shards? Could you get lucky and pull 2? Sure. Could you get unlucky and pull 4 useless epics? Most likely. So you have to keep all these things in mind when considering 2x events. 0.5% chance of a legendary from void shards and ancient shards. 0.5. We do have a mercy system. Now, a lot of people are under this impression that when 2x events happen for ancient shards, for example, it goes to 1%. So you're expecting a legendary every 100 shards for some reason. That's not realistic at all. I've seen people hit pity on 2x events because that's the way RNG works. It's only a 1% chance. You can say, in theory, I'm supposed to get 1 in 100 shards. Yeah, that's in theory. Think of it this way. Every single time you pull an ancient shard, you have a 1% chance, no matter what. Until you hit the certain threshold of pity, it's always going to be a 1% chance per shard you pull. So I think if you think of it that way, instead of my example earlier of 12% chance of 100 sacreds, you would get 12 legendaries in 100 sacreds. Not realistic. You have to say it's a 12% chance of pulling a legendary every single time I open a sacred shard until I hit the pity, which I don't even know what it is, 22. I mean, I've seen people pull 30 in a 2x event without a legendary. Is that crazy or what? Granted, that's probably a low percent of happening. It can still happen, and you cannot afford that if you're free to play. If you're a mid spender, you just can't afford those odds. It's a really big risk and reward, and I know the gambling aspect of this game is very addicting to players, but this is why I'm saying skip 10 times, skip 2 times, especially if you're close to pity. Now, when's the best time to pull for pity? Honestly, it's probably a 10x event being realistic with you, even though the percent chance of you pulling that specific champion is very small. If you're willing to gamble and you don't care about what I'm talking about as far as guaranteed champions, fusions, all that, you can pull for a 10x event if you know you're at pity and at a high enough level into pity where it's very, very likely, like extremely likely, you do pull a legendary within the amount of shards you have. Outside of that, for a 2x event, you should never go into a 2x event close to pity, because if you want to really make value out of your increased rates, you resetting your pity like 10-20 shards into a 2x event is not going to be beneficial for you at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's clear that you guys can see that, but I'm just saying it just to clarify. You want to go into it with practically no pity to get that extra luck really working for you in case you can pull 3 legendaries and 50 shards. I know we've all heard of it, we've all seen it, or the rare but the legendary and the satisfying double legendary pull or triple legendary pull in the same 10 pull. That's the goal for everybody, but once again, they could be terrible champions, you could have no use for them, and you need legendary books for some of them to even make them viable. So these things, keep them in mind. If you're free to play, low spender, doesn't matter. I think this applies to quite a few people as far as my view on 10 times and 2 times events. Even though it does feel good to buy shards and spend them on 2 times events, you feel like you're getting a lot more than you really are. I think most of us know this deep down, but we kind of push it to the side and we say, I don't want to believe it, I don't want to think it's true, but in the end it is true. So that's going to be my video. Give me your feedback, give me your thoughts on this matter here. And I don't know, have some of you guys been doing this already? I'd be interested to know if you guys have already been doing the Fusion and Guaranteed Champion only. I know I have a few friends who have been doing it. They've been working. It has worked out very well for them in their account progression, and we've had very strong Guaranteed Champions. So do look forward to some of the feedback and comments you guys do have on this. Don't forget, if you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next video.